We are here for Do This, Not That podcast presented by Marigold. And one of the most popular episodes we've ever done of the podcast was about public speaking. And we did not even scratch the surface on some of the tips that I want to share. So we're going to go through some other public speaking tips that I think could be super valuable. And we talk about public speaking. This is not you just getting up in front of a big audience. Public speaking could be you running a Zoom meeting. It could be you in a conference room with five other people. It could be you at a cocktail party talking to five people. Public speaking is when you're talking to any group of people. And certainly this applies to when you are talking on stage in front of a big group of people. And why me? Why should you listen to me? Number one, you shouldn't, not on anything other than reality TV. That would be a good topic because I'm all about that. But as it relates to public speaking, yeah, I give about 100 speeches a year in all sorts of different places, online, everywhere, and they get decent reviews. And that's where my information comes from. I didn't take a formal class. I just know what resonates and what doesn't resonate. And that's what I want to share with you because I think a lot of the information out there about what you should do or shouldn't do comes from people that are epically boring. And if you follow what they say, you too will be boring. So I don't want you to be boring. I want people to pay attention to what you're saying. So let's jump into it. Number one, never memorize a speech. Again, this could be a small webinar, it could be a meeting on Zoom, it could be a speech to a lot of people. Do not memorize your speech ever. There is nothing more boring than to hear somebody recite something that they have memorized because they're not really into it. They're just trying to remember the next word that they're supposed to say. So never memorize your speech. And the other problem is, if you do memorize it, what happens is if you miss even one syllable of what it is that you know that you're supposed to say, you are all screwed up. You are off track. I hate when people memorize their speech. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't practice, right? It doesn't mean you shouldn't practice what you're going to say, and you should practice. But there's one very specific way that you should practice what you're going to say. When you rehearse, rehearse with a lot of background noise, rehearse with the TV on, rehearse when you're going on a walk. And yeah, you'll look ridiculous talking to yourself. But you want to rehearse when there's a lot of distractions, there's a lot of stuff going on. Because when you ultimately do speak in that conference room, on that Zoom, in front of a big live audience, it's not going to be this perfect isolated thing where nobody's making a noise and nobody's moving around. So when you rehearse, you want to rehearse in that kind of real scenario to be out and about. Now, when you talk about anything, when you are giving your talk or you are presenting, okay, you never want to talk about anything that's older than a year ago. So if you are talking and it is, February 2025, you don't want to say, and in July 2023, blah, blah, blah. Instantly, nobody cares. You're like, that is old. They won't say they don't care, but they don't care. Anything older than a year ago, do not include in your presentation, even if you can't find something more recent, because it doesn't matter anymore. People don't feel like, okay, is that still accurate because it's older than a year old? Find something new or don't use it at all. And let's say you are giving that speech in February of 2025. And let's say you have some data from 4 months ago. You don't say that the data is from 2024. You say this is information from 4 months ago. What sounds older to you? The year prior, right? Or 4 months ago? It's the year prior. So you want to reference, don't try to use that year in your speech because it makes people think it's old information. The other thing is that at some point you're going to ask for question and answers, right? You're going to say, does anybody have any questions? You always want to make the audience feel like they're part of what you're doing, that they're comfortable in participating. Whatever that first question is that somebody asks, okay, the whole entire audience or the people in that room or on that webinar, everybody's trying to like feel out, should I ask a question? Whatever the first question is that somebody asks, as soon as they're done saying, blah, 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 and that's their question, you say, you know what? That's a great question, or that's a really good question. I'm glad you brought that up. You validate the person that asked that question immediately because when you do that, everybody else that's there feels more comfortable participating. You instantly say, that's great. I'm so glad you brought that up. That's a really interesting point. Validate that first question always. Another thing you want to think about doing is filling the space. What do I mean by that? If you're on a stage, You want to move around a lot. Don't stand behind some sort of lectern, some sort of podium that is so epically boring. You want to fill the space, walk from side to side, make everybody that's there feel part of it. And even if you're in a room, a conference room, you want to move around a little bit. Even if you're seated, you want to move your arms around a little bit. You want to fill whatever space you're in. Even if it's on Zoom, you want to move yourself. You want to move your arms, move your head, move your thing. Fill the space because it's more engaging. It gets people more interested. It's in the subconscious. It gets them more energized to be a part of it. And the absolute worst thing that you can do when you do any kind of public speaking is when you ask the audience a question, make sure everybody feels comfortable with the question. Don't make your audience feel stupid. So if you turn to your audience and you say, who here knows what ABM means, which means account based marketing, but only like half the audience might know, instantly you'll get a few hand raises that go up, but a lot of people won't raise their hand because maybe they don't know. Don't ever assume that your audience knows the thing. And the worst thing you could do is ask a question that is not basic enough that everybody knows, right? You want to ask questions like, who here loves horror movies? Everybody has an opinion on that. They can participate. You can't ask something super technical that somebody might not know because you will lose that audience member instantly because they feel embarrassed. Never embarrass your audience. Okay. So before we get into Since You Didn't Ask, which is the ridiculous portion of this podcast, always ridiculous, I want to let you know that this podcast is presented by Marigold. Marigold is awesome. They are a roll up of Sail Through, Campaign Monitor, My Emma, Cheetah Digital, Live Clicker. And yeah, I've talked about them a lot because they're awesome. They're my email sending platform. And they have this new loyalty guide. If you don't do loyalty marketing, you are leaving the most important thing on the table to really connect with the people in your database, your customers, right? If you go to jschwedelson.com/Marigold, that's jschwedelson.com/Marigold, you can download Marigold's new loyalty guide. And I'm telling you, as you're planning for 2025, grab this thing, get loyalty going, make your customers feel that you appreciate them. That's jschwedelson.com/Marigold. It is free. All right, let's get into Since You Didn't Ask, which is the ridiculous portion of this podcast. Oh my God, I was at a holiday party the other day. It was amazing because one of my buddies, he shouldn't have been there. He wasn't feeling well. And I was standing like near him, not next to him. And out of nowhere, it wasn't because he was a drunk or anything like that. He threw up. He threw up on the floor, on the floor, like in this dude's house. And it was a disaster. And it was amazing. And I mean, everything you can imagine happened. And of course, oh my God, are you okay? Are you okay? Not me. I'm like, that's amazing. He's fine now, by the way. Nothing's wrong with him. He just like, I don't know, he ate something. I don't know what's wrong with him, but that's amazing. And it got me thinking about other party fails. So I'll tell other party fails of my party fails. So this always stuck in my brain. When I got married, okay, we sent out, this is so bad. We sent out save the dates. You know, you send out a save the date and early on in the process, and then later on you send out the invitation. Well, we screwed up and we sent out save the dates to a handful of people that for whatever reason our list got messed up. We never sent them the invitation, right? So then it became the day of our wedding, and I'm like, where's so and so? How come where are they seated, where whatever? And in that moment we realized there was a handful of people we sent save the dates to that we never sent the invitations to, and to this day they never talked to me again. It was like 3 of them never talked to me again. Whatever, that's their problem. The other party fail was, it was my daughter's birthday a while back now, and she was very into Dora the Explorer. You know, the Nickelodeon girl who travels around, whatever. So I was like, oh my God, we're gonna get a Dora, you know, a big somebody in a costume like Dora to come to the party and surprise her. And so I don't know, I must have found this Dora. I don't know where I found this Dora online. So we hire the Dora, and the Dora shows up to the door in full costume, giant Dora head, Dora outfit. They come in, and my daughter's like, "Oh my God, this is so great!" And all the kids are like, "This is so great!" And then after like 5 minutes, I was like, "What's up with Dora?" She was like, kind of like leaning against the wall, not really interacting with the kids. And so I walk up to the door. I'm like, "Dora, can you hear me?" And the person goes, "Yes, I could hear you." I'm like, "What's up with you?" And Dora, which oddly was a dude, whatever. Dora goes, "I don't feel that well." I go, "Okay, what's up?" And they go, "Can I sit down somewhere?" So we went into this room right where all the kids, next to where all the kids were, and Dora took off her head, you know, her big thing, And he's like, "I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm crazy hungover right now." I'm like, "Dude, I can't have drunk Dora at my daughter's birthday party. What's wrong with you? You're a clown." And then the worst thing ever happens. My daughter comes in the room with a bunch of her friends because they were running around the house, and they see Dora with no head on, and it was a dude, and crying, "What's wrong with Dora?" Oh my God, it was so bad. I kicked drunk Dora out of my house. I was so angry. I'm like, "Drunk Dora, what is wrong with you? You can't be hungover Dora and take your head off." Anyway, I don't know what I'm talking about. Listen, I appreciate you being here. I hope you got something out of these public speaking tips. Leave this thing a review. Be awesome. And hit me up at jayschwedelson.com. That's where a lot of stuff is. And you rock. Later.